On the menu today? Ooh, oh. Wow. And do you have any comment? So let's get ready to do some soldering.
Welcome.
Hello, chip dippers. In a recent Resipode, I was joined by Lady Fractic for another retro fun boxing, and one of the items was a mini keyboard for the C64 Mini, donated by a person with a strangely familiar name.
Dean Woodyatt?
And he's starring EastEnders. Alright, love, how's it going? Come down the calf.
I saw you sleeping with my sister!
That's not your sister, that's my mum. Wait, that's even worse.
Wrong!
This is a C64 Mini keyboard kit. Obviously this doesn't work, correct?
Obviously.
This turns into a fully working keyboard that will go under there. Hey, who plays Ian in EastEnders?
Ian Deal was played by Adam Woodyatt.
Adam Woodyatt. Now, not only did I appear in a few episodes of EastEnders before I downgraded to Los Angeles.
Well, if you don't, bloke over there will. You're right.
Hey.
Nice to see you.
You was happy to sleep with both of us after all, weren't you?
There's no need for that!
Some of my best acting there, but Dean told me that Adam Woodyatt is in fact his fourth or fifth cousin, something Adam's very happy about. Wait, what's this video about again? Oh yeah, the keyboard. Let's have a look at what we get in the kit. These are the switches. You saw those during the unboxing. These are diodes and they provide bounce back protection for the key presses. Here is the gorgeous PCB itself. Everything's pretty clearly marked so you can see where all the little diodes go next to each switch. And here on the back, apart from a nice illustration, you can see where the Arduino goes. Now this here is the Arduino device. This is what talks to the C64 Mini and tells it how to interpret the key presses from the switches. And it's similar to those keyboard bridges that you've seen me use in various projects, including where I am now using for my everyday computer an Apple Macintosh keyboard with my modern iMac. So this does the translating. And Dean has been very clever in that he's actually using the original Commodore 64 keyboard matrix. Now, that means that you can use, in theory, this mini keyboard with a real Commodore 64. Also in there we have this USB adapter, and that's what's going to allow the keyboard to talk to the C64 Mini. These are headers, which are going to allow the Arduino to connect to the board. This little guy seems kind of lonely, doesn't he? I think he's on his own because that's the shift lock key, which has, instead of a one-time press, it has a latching mechanism. And finally, I originally thought this was a mount, but actually this, we'll come back to this in a minute, is to allow you to mold your own keycaps. Speaking of keycaps, let's get started printing some PLA ones with my 3D printer and see if they're going to be good enough detail and good enough quality to use on top of the actual switches themselves. That print doesn't work, another interesting option might be the new prototyping service by PCBWay. The options include CNC machining and high-quality 3D printing, because as we all know, PCB stands for Prototypes Created Beautifully, doesn't it? So let's get ready to do some soldering, and I'm actually going to be using this. This is a solder fume extractor. It's just a fan that sucks all the solder through this carbon filter. I do worry a little bit about inhaling a lot of lead-based solder, so this is definitely going to help. If you want to see links to this and all the stuff that I use in all my videos, check out my website, perryfractic.com/tools, because I'm a big tool. Let's turn this on and get soldering. After a little while, you have something that looks a little bit like this. But the question is, does it work? I mean, can you type on it? Do you have any comment on the mini keyboard? Okay, thank you, madam. And what about you, sir? Thank you for your comment. Excuse me, ma'am. Do you have any comment on the mini keyboard? But yes, you can type on it. However, those micro switches just aren't very comfortable under the fingers, which brings us back to 3D printed keycaps. Let's see how they're getting along. Key bloody mendus. Now, I actually tried another 5 times over 2 days and just couldn't get the print to work, which is a bit of a first for me. And I think the keycaps are just too small and too fine a detail by their very nature. However, that's okay, as Adat Dean himself says PLA likely just won't look good enough. And it turns out there are actually 3 different options for making the keycaps. 1, PLA, which we're ruling out now. 2, resin printing. And here, hot off the press, is an exclusive look at Dean's latest attempt, completed literally the day I was finishing this very video. Now obviously colour and detail may change, but it gives you a good idea of what's possible, and he plans to sell these keycaps with the kit soon. And option 3 is using the C64 Mini's original keycaps. Obviously these ones are fixed, but I'm interested to see what their backsides look like. You know, under the undersides. You know what I mean. Oh, there'd be a little screw under there. Beautiful. Why didn't I do that to begin with? Now the big reveal. Ooh, oh. They're actually standard keycappy. Well, I'm back now from looking at Dean Woodyat's blog, and actually he has a really interesting technique for turning these into keycaps. The idea is, using a belt sander, you grind away this lower layer. You can see it's quite thin here, and the more that it disintegrates, eventually you're left just with the keys themselves, with no base plate around them, and then they start to come off. That's why he gives you this. You fill this with plaster of Paris, and then it acts as you can see the screw holes line up here. It acts as a holder where you can create, firstly, a mold of the front side of these. Once that's dried, you can drop each individual keycap into its mold hole where it originally sat, and then you can get your PCB and lay it on top, and all of those little micro switches will fall into the appropriate hole of the appropriate key, perfectly lined up. Once it's dried, you get something that looks a little bit like this. Wow. But you're probably wondering how those keyboards are actually working, in other words, how things are wired up inside. Let me show you. You just screw the keyboard back into the C64 Mini. The screw holes on the new PCB line up perfectly. Then all that remains is to connect the wires. That's where the USB hub comes in. Now I won't show you the whole process, as Dean gives really great instructions, and it's very simple. But in a nutshell, the C64 PCB connects here to the hub, which initially seems like a problem, as if we flip it over, you can see that doing that disables one of the Mini's external USB ports. But the hub gives you two inputs to replace the one that you used up with the hub, meaning one can connect to the keyboard and the other to the original USB port on the side of the Mini, so you don't lose any of those by performing this super cool mod. And what do I think of Dean Woodyat? Oh, I got the name right. Dean Woodyat's Mini keyboard? Well, we give it 4.5 chips out of 5. As soon as those keycaps are available, it's easily a 5 out of 5 product. And that's about it for the Mini keyboard. I'll let you escape and give you some space. I know I'm a bit shifty, but I'll try to update you when the resin keys become available. Either way, keep an eye on What's-His-Name's blog, links in the description. Thanks for watching, subscribe and support below, and cheerio. And do you have any comment? Do you have any comment on the Mini keyboard? Thank you for your comment.